Hi all, it's Hannah here, and welcome to our first Coffee and Chat Q&A. This is our first Reset and Recover Coffee and Chat Q&A, a little new addition to the tiers. So I hope you enjoy this and obviously keep sending in your questions because there will be a new one coming out every single month with top questions from the forum. It's exclusive to the group, so to everyone who's not in the group, you're missing out. Join the group now. The Coffee and Chat Q&A is part of every single tier, so whether or not you go for the most intensive tier or you go for one of the more basic tiers, you do get access to this. These videos will be exclusive to the group, meaning I will be posting them to the group only, except for this first video, just to show you what you're missing out on. So yeah, if you're possibly interested in the group, check out the link with all of the information, or let's hop onto a short free call just to see if the group is for you, which of the tiers could benefit you, and what that would look like for you. No strings attached, no pressure whatsoever. This morning I'm still at my doggy sitting address, so I've just had breakfast and I've got myself my coffee for the morning. To be honest, it's more of a mocha vibe. It's this new drink I've been trying called Space Goods, and the first ingredient is cacao, so hot chocolate, but it also has maca, it's got chaga, it's got cordyceps, ashwagandha, lion's mane, and coffee. I really love it. It's very tasty. I tend to make it with milk, but Tom had the car this weekend, so I made it with some hot water, and it is still absolutely delicious. Having said that, I just spilled it all over my desk just now. So without further ado, I think let's just get around to our little chat. If you don't have a hot drink of your own, go and get one now, grab yourself a snack. Let's sit and talk. My dad is visiting at the moment and I've low-key got him addicted to this as well. I've got the questions up, but as I'm responding to them, or maybe before I even respond to them myself, feel free to pause this video and share your own insights and experiences in the comments as well. Not only is this a great way to create a bit of cognitive dissonance, to push yourself into action while helping others, it's also really insightful and really helpful for the individuals who ask these questions. Your insights, your experiences are super valuable. Please do share them. And if these questions stir any more questions, or if any other questions have come up that you haven't had a chance to ask, feel free to leave them in the comments or in the group chat or on the forum, and I will cover them in the next Coffee and Chat Q&A or in the next live session. In recovery, honestly, I don't think there's anything better than knowing that that support is consistently there. So I hope you get a lot out of being part of this group. First question. I would appreciate some advice on how to combat the feelings of irritation and bother when others are trying to be healthy. I cannot stand it when my parents or classmates mention anything about wanting to eat healthier or be more active. It's not that I want them to be unhealthy, it just makes me so angry for some reason, and I don't understand why I feel like I should be the only one focusing on my health. Honestly, eating disorders are inherently super competitive, and the personality behind eating disorders tends to be quite perfectionistic. So this drive to be healthier than others, to be better than others, to out-compete others in some way or other is actually super normal and super duper common. For me personally, I found that it came up a lot, especially with my mum and with my twin sister, as you can understand, in terms of academics, in terms of food, in terms of exercise, which is obviously extremely difficult when you do have to start eating more and differently in recovery. And for me, which was also very difficult when my sisters started getting more into exercise and then triathlon. So yeah, while it is common and quite a normal occurrence, that is not to say that it's healthy or helpful. In terms of my relationship with my sister, it definitely wasn't healthy or helpful. It was very detrimental to our relationship. Yeah, it was very detrimental to our relationship. But thankfully things have changed a lot since there, so if you're finding yourself stuck in this pattern, learn from my mistakes. I've got a few tips for you. First off, notice those thoughts, and it sounds like you're already doing this, But honestly, that is the most important first step. When do they come up? What triggers them? And how do you respond to them? When you respond to them in a certain way versus in another way, how does that then impact you and your thoughts and your subsequent behavior? This is a very cognitive behavioral kind of approach to these thought patterns, but it's really damn helpful, because once you start to get a grasp of those patterns, you can actually start to change them and to challenge them. Anyway, I think it's also really helpful to notice those thoughts for the fact that you'll be able to identify and label them as just thoughts. Thoughts can feel powerful, they're valid, but they're thoughts. They don't need to determine your behavior. You can acknowledge a thought, but choose not to engage with it. That's a very powerful statement, and over time it does get easier. For me, that translated into, first off, noticing when I noticed my sister eating differently, for example, but not commenting on it, or not seeking reassurance all the time. That was really, really difficult, but over time it meant that I put less weight on these circumstances and situations, and by commenting on it less, sent my brain that signal that it wasn't worth commenting on, it wasn't that important, it wasn't worth my time and my mindset. Which brings me to point number 2. Reminding myself that what is healthy for someone else may not be healthy for me, or what's healthy for me may not be healthy for someone else. This helped me to reconnect with my own recovery goals. What did I want to get out of life? And would eating what my sister was eating, or exercising the way my mum was exercising, help to get me there? Chances are they don't, because the goal a lot of the time is to tune back into your own hunger cues, to tune back into your own body, and to really follow your own internal cues. And relying on external circumstances, external influences, is not going to help you there. Nor is trying to change their intake or their exercise, because that doesn't concern you at all in any way. So, what are your recovery goals? And what are the steps that you need to take to actually get you there? It may help to journal about this too, writing a big old list of goals and a big old list of steps. I know that identifying those specific steps can be quite challenging, so if working with a professional or booking in a couple of one-to-one sessions with me would be helpful, please do. And let's really fine-tune those goals so that you can get to where you need to be, to where you want to be, to where you deserve to be. Now that you've identified your goals, now that you've identified your steps, again, take a moment to reflect on, would following my mum, my sisters, or my classmates' approach get me to those goals? Would changing them and their approach get me closer to my goals? As I said before, chances are this is not the case. We want to be able to tune into our own goals, focus on our own journeys, and the only way to do that is to focus on our own journeys. So imagine tuning into your own cues. Visualize your life in 5 or 10 years' time. What do you want that to look like? How does that compare? This should be your real focus. And I know it's easier said than done, but if in those moments it's particularly difficult, rely on some of those other coping tools in your toolbox. We'll go into that in a lot of depth in one of the modules. And or use a bit of healthy distraction and other hobbies to push you through until that emotional tension subsides a little bit, until you're able to face that and look at it in a different way, because sometimes in the moment that can be really challenging. Anyway, nowadays when I notice other people aren't eating as much or exercising more, or when someone brings up their latest diet, what I tell myself is, I'm glad I'm not them. To be honest, I wouldn't want to have that kind of relationship with food or with exercise. What I want for myself is a healthy relationship with food and with exercise. If I were to follow the same regime or the same exercise regime as my sister or a colleague or whoever else, what would that bring me? Misery? More of the eating disorder? That's not what I want for myself. My vision for the future looks a whole lot different. The next question I received is around resting and not being productive. So the question is as follows. Do you have any advice on dealing with anxiety and stress around long periods of rest? Feeling the need to be productive or doing something. As before, my one response to pretty much any question in recovery comes back to reconnecting with your goals, reminding yourself of the steps, including rest, that you'll likely need to take in order to reach those goals. And 3, while still acknowledging the thoughts and the ingrained beliefs, acknowledging that you can disregard those thoughts, acknowledging that you can disregard what other people are doing if these things don't align with your life view, with your goals, with your aims. This is honestly the most powerful way to communicate to your body, to your brain, that these thoughts, that the eating disorder does not own you, does not determine your next steps. Only you can do that. And while that's pretty damn difficult at the start, it does get easier with time and practice, like most things in recovery and in life. When we first try something new, it's going to be uncomfortable because it's new, but we do it again and again and again, and we gain that confidence. As for rest, specifically, it may also help to intentionally plan in downtime, plan in breaks, ensure that you have those moments of self-care and have those moments where you're not being productive. In the same way that with fear foods, you intentionally plan in challenges. Exposure. Set actual rules or non-negotiables for yourself so that you don't end up justifying giving into the eating disorder or the productivity drive. For example, personally, I take a break around all of my meals, and I also try to take even just 5 minutes after every client call to decompress, and if I've been sitting for 2 hours, even if just to get myself a drink, stretch my legs. And it doesn't always work. I have gotten a bit more flexible with that, I suppose, now, but it can help to be stricter with that, and it can help to really make that a habit, to prove to yourself that you deserve these breaks, and to prove to yourself that by taking these breaks, you're not worthless, you're not lazy, you're not whatever the eating disorder may try to convince you that you are. Oftentimes having those breaks actually makes us feel better, makes us feel more productive, and allows us to tune into ourselves and our cues a whole lot more. Again, this may take a bit of time and practice, but it is so worth doing. Especially in a society where productivity is so incredibly praised. Defying that is a powerful statement in self-care. There's a lot of questions that came in. It's 9:30 at the moment. We have our first live group coaching session in an hour and a half, so yeah, I'll be well caffeinated for that. So next question. Advice on dealing with the discomfort of being full, sometimes uncomfortably so. Dealing with a constant distended stomach, bloating, and being sensitive and hyper aware of how clothes fit and feel. Linked to this question was also the other one of how to deal with poor body image and feelings of low self-esteem. And I know this is a common one. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed in recovery, because you can be taking all the right steps. If you don't address this, it's going to draw you right back. So thank you for sending in this question. If you have any of your own insights, leave them below. But this is what I would like to share on the topic. In addition to everything I've already said, another reminder that I think is really powerful and that really helped me was that discomfort is actually a good thing. And while that may sound odd, discomfort really is a good thing, because it means you're pushing the comfort zone. It means you're challenging the eating disorder and trying something new. As I said before, trying something new challenging yourself in some way or other will always feel uncomfortable at first, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And in the case of eating disorder recovery, in fact, a lot of the time it's a good thing, because it means you're taking steps in your recovery, and that is powerful. So even if physically inside your body it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel nice, remind yourself that it is definitely a positive thing. Reframe that whole scenario for yourself. Rewrite that whole narrative. You're getting closer to your goals, so if you're feeling uncomfortable, you can be pretty proud of that. Other more practical tips that really helped me at the time were to take some of the pressures, some of the focus off of my body for the time being. So I wore more comfortable, stretchy clothes. I sat down in postures that felt a little bit more comfortable. I didn't have any full-length mirrors around. I definitely avoided the scales and any kind of body checking, topics that we go into a lot more depth on in the modules too. And those things were really helpful in shifting the focus, in reminding myself that what my body looked like wasn't everything, wasn't that important at all. And that is not to say we need to avoid our bodies entirely, or that we need to avoid our bodies for the rest of our lives. But while we're going through so much change, especially, it's really difficult to acknowledge that change, because we're used to a specific, certain picture of ourselves, and that can change from week to week. Once I'd reached a more stable weight, once this weight was redistributing, I felt more comfortable approaching myself, coming to terms with myself. But at the time of all of the change, that was a whole lot more difficult, and I met myself where I was at. Other ways to shift the focus are to focus on what else you're gaining alongside the weight, how your energy is maybe returning, how your mind space is returning, and what your body actually does for you, rather than just what it looks like. And it can do a whole lot more for you when it's nourished. Anyway, I do have quite a few videos that go specifically into body image, so I will be sharing them in some links below. Oh no, it looks like my battery's dying. It's because I spilled my coffee everywhere before this video. I'm going to try to get around to a few more. Oh, there's at least 10 more questions, guys. Anyway, in terms of this question, the body image question, as I said, stretchy clothes, no full-length mirrors, no body checking, hot drinks, also really helpful in terms of any kind of physical discomfort. They were my best friend. And distractions, especially around meals, were really helpful too. As I said at the start, I know that this is a topic for a lot of you, so if you have any of your own insights and experiences, please do share them as well, because I think that could be really helpful for everyone. Next question. Did you ever experience food decision difficulties after you started recovery? If yes, how did you deal with it? I often have a hard time deciding what to eat, and it takes me a very long time to understand what I'm craving, almost as if due to my eating disorder experience, my brain and body have been distanced. It's definitely more connected to making a decision with every meal, so choosing the most perfect option, making the meal worth it, being sensitive around consistency and temperature in excessive ways. Yes, well, that is definitely something I experienced that I would say the big majority of my clients experience. When we come from an eating disorder, we want those limited amount of foods, those limited amount of meals that we do have, to be perfect. And that sort of makes sense, because if one meal isn't perfect, that sort of ruins it for the day. The thing is, when we're eating regularly, when we're eating sufficiently, one meal doesn't really matter, because if one meal isn't perfect, well, maybe the next one's going to be a little bit better. When we come from the scarcity mindset, shifting that to an abundance mindset can make a world of a difference. Plus, I think in recovery, and this does take a bit of time, but in recovery, our life, our whole world, our whole everything broadens so much. So we do find that whereas before we were constantly focused on food, where food was everything, planning meals, thinking about meals, etc., etc., life broadens beyond that. We start to have the time, the mind space, and the energy for other things. So if meals aren't exactly as they should be, or as maybe we wanted them to be, that's okay, because it's just not our focus anymore. When we're coming from an eating disorder, food is our focus because, well, our mind is trained for this. Our mind is scared of starvation and doesn't want us to go through that. After recovery, a lot of that changes naturally. That said, you can also challenge it intentionally. Maybe one time you allow your dinner to cool down before you have it. Maybe another time you try out a new dish because you want to try something new, even if you don't know whether it'll be as nice as another one. Over time you realize that by doing this, nothing bad actually happens. Worst case scenario is you don't like it that much, you learn from that, you have something else the next time. Or if it's really horrible, you go and grab something else. And that's it. The world doesn't explode, nobody dies. That is literally it. So realizing that, and realizing that rationally and through experience, is a powerful way to push through that. So the final topic that came up, it's not a question as such, is about how to push through quasi-recovery and how to handle the fear that comes alongside going all in. My camera is genuinely about to die, so this is one I'm going to cover in the live session in an hour. I might also cover it in the next coffee and chat Q&A, but I would love to see all of your insights into this first as well. So leave a comment with your suggestions and your tips below. I can't wait to see all of your comments, your insights, and if you're not part of Reset and Recover yet, I can't wait for you to either sign up or sign up to a short free call with me. The modules go into a lot of topics in a lot of depth. So exposure, fear challenges, how to reframe those thoughts, how to deal with bad body image, building resilience, warning signs, relapse prevention, so much more. So if you want to benefit from the modules, if you want to benefit from the community, the live sessions, the intensive one-to-one support, now's the time to sign up. There's a lot more information on the website, or if you're unsure about which tier would be right for you, let's hop onto a short free call, no strings attached, no pressure. My camera just died and my drink has gone cold. So I am gonna charge my camera, finish my drink, and get ready for our live session. See you guys soon.